Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into something we've all struggled with, that almost magnetic pull toward junk food. You know, when you feel totally powerless against a bag of chips or pint of ice cream? Well, you're definitely in the right place, because we're going to figure out exactly why that happens.
Okay, picture this. You've had a super long day. You told yourself, today's the day I stick to my goals, and then there you are, standing in front of the pantry, and it feels like a tractor beam is just pulling you toward that box of cookies. So frustrating, right?
But what if I told you that this has almost nothing to do with a failure of willpower? The truth is, you're basically in a heavyweight fight. In one corner, you've got millions of years of our own biology, and in the other, some of the most sophisticated food science on the entire planet. Seriously, this isn't about being weak. It's about being completely outgunned.
So to really understand what's going on, we have to start with something called the hunger paradox. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty science of why you can be totally, completely stuffed after dinner and still have this undeniable, desperate need for dessert.
It turns out our brains are getting two totally different kinds of hunger signals. First, you've got homeostatic hunger. Just think of this as your body's fuel gauge. It's that real, physiological need for energy. But then there's hedonic hunger. And this one's the real game changer. It's the drive to eat for pure pleasure. And it has absolutely nothing to do with whether your body actually needs energy. That is the craving culprit right there.
So how does this hedonic hunger get triggered so easily? Well, the answer lies in a concept that food scientists call the bliss point. And believe me, this is no accident. It's a very specific formula. It is the precise, scientifically engineered combination of sugar, salt, and fat that's designed to make processed foods as pleasurable as humanly possible, making them almost impossible to stop eating.
And what's happening in your brain when this goes down? Well, when you eat something that hits that bliss point, your brain gets a huge rush of dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical, the one linked to reward and pleasure. So your brain remembers that amazing feeling, and its one simple message is, do that again. This creates this incredibly powerful feedback loop that just keeps driving you back for more, even when your stomach is screaming, no vacancy! All right, so we know our brains are wired to chase pleasure. But what's actually pulling the trigger? What sets these powerful cravings into motion in the first place? Well, it turns out our own bodies and our immediate surroundings are just full of these little hidden tripwires. First, let's meet the main player on the biological side of things, a hormone called ghrelin. It's known as the hunger hormone, for a very good reason. When your stomach is empty, it pumps out ghrelin, which travels up to your brain and pretty much flips the big red eat now switch. It's a survival signal, and it's super important. But here's the catch. Ghrelin isn't only controlled by an empty stomach. Our modern lifestyle can completely hijack the system. Research shows that things like not getting enough sleep, we're talking less than 7 hours a night, and dealing with high chronic stress can cause your ghrelin levels to just skyrocket. This basically tricks your brain into feeling way hungrier and a lot less satisfied, even when you've had plenty to eat. But it's not just our internal chemistry, not by a long shot. Our external world is just as powerful. And this quote from researchers really gets to the heart of it. We are visual creatures, and our environment can spark a desire to eat that's completely separate from our actual hunger signals. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Think about that bag of chips sitting on the counter that you see every single time you walk into the kitchen, or mindlessly snacking while you're zoned out in front of the TV. Even just the way your kitchen is set up can push you toward unhealthy choices. And, I mean, who hasn't had their entire day's plan derailed at the amazing smell coming out of a bakery? These cues are working on us all the time, often without us even realizing it. Okay, so we're fighting our own brain chemistry and a world that's basically a minefield of triggers. It sounds a little bleak, I know, but it's not. Because here's the good news. If the environment is a huge part of the problem, that means the environment can be a huge part of the solution. And that brings us to the most important section here, the environment toolkit. We can break this down into a really simple 3-step framework. This is all about redesigning your surroundings. It's not about gritting your teeth and finding more willpower. It's about addition, subtraction, and, when you have to, strategically saying no. We're going to focus mostly on those first two, because honestly, when you get those right, saying no becomes way, way easier. So first up is addition. This is all about one simple idea. Make the healthy choice the easiest choice. So instead of hiding fruit away in a drawer, put a big, beautiful fruit bowl right on the counter where the cookies used to live. Pre-pack some healthy snacks so they're just as easy to grab as a bag of chips. Have a little something healthy before you go to a party so you don't show up starving. You're just proactively building support right into your world. All right, next up, subtraction. So if addition is about making the good choices easy, subtraction is all about making the not-so-good choices harder. We're creating a little bit of friction. Go through your kitchen and just get rid of the junk food that isn't helping you. And if you can't toss it, at least store it somewhere inconvenient, up high in the back at a site. Unsubscribe from all those tempting fast food emails. Deliberately take a different route home so you don't drive right past your biggest weakness. It's that classic idea, out of sight, truly out of mind. But you know what happens when a craving still hits. You need a game plan. So instead of those salty potato chips, you could try some air-popped popcorn. If you need a chocolate fix, go for a small piece of really good dark chocolate with some berries. That sugary soda, try some sparkling water with a splash of fruit. And for that fried food craving, a hard-boiled egg can give you that satisfying protein hit. See, the point isn't to deprive yourself. It's to redirect that craving to something that actually nourishes you. Which brings us to our final and maybe the most powerful mindset shift of all. This is the big idea that ties everything together. It's time to stop fighting this constant, exhausting battle and start designing a smarter system. Let's just let that sink in for a second. The goal isn't more willpower, it's a smarter environment. You have a limited amount of willpower every single day, and it runs out. So relying on it is just a losing strategy. The real win comes from creating a world around you where you don't need to use as much willpower in the first place. Ultimately, this is the key takeaway. Constantly telling yourself no, no, no is draining, and a lot of the time it just backfires. But proactively setting up your home, your car, your office for success, that is so empowering. It's the difference between constantly fighting a battle on enemy territory versus defending your own well-built fortress. So I'll leave you with this one question. Don't try to change your entire life overnight. That's just overwhelming. Just think about your day. What is the one single trigger that you could remove or change right now to make your healthy choice just a tiny bit easier? Because that one small change, that's where it all begins.